Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to African Metaphysical Center for Spiritual Healing, Body, Mind, and Spirit Development. I am your host, Kufu Amin-Ra, your metaphysical practitioner, Reiki master, Qigong instructor, bond practitioner, and mystic. Today's topic is Sunday morning true Bible history. You know, in my last year at Bible college, I wrote my thesis on the church fathers. That research led me to a book that completely transformed everything I thought I knew about biblical history. 101 Myths of the Bible: How Ancient Scribes Invented Biblical History by Gary Greenberg, president of the Biblical Archaeological Society of New York. Answered questions I've been wrestling with for years. Where these writings truly came from, how the stories was transliterated from other ancient cultures, and what was lost in translation. Today I want to share myth 1 with you. Here is the verse. In the beginning, everything was without form and void. We're taught Genesis described God creating everything from absolute nothing. Ex nihilo creation. But here's what the archaeological and linguistic evidence actually shows. This opening directly mirrors the Kemetic creation myth from Heliopolis, one of the most influential religious centers of the ancient world. In Kemet cosmology, before creation existed, there was Nun, the primordial waters of chaos, described as formless, dark, and void. The Kemetic creator god Atum emerged from these chaotic waters to begin the process of creation, bringing order from chaos. Sound familiar? Because the Hebrew Genesis account follows this exact same structure: darkness, formless, void, waters, and a divine being bringing forth creation. The Hebrew phrase tohu bahu, translated as without form and void, directly parallels the Egyptian or Kemetic concept of pre-creation chaos. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Genesis 1:2 says, the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. We read spirit and think of something ethereal, supernatural, ghost-like. But in the original Hebrew text, the word translated as spirit is ruach. And ruach doesn't mean spirit in the way we understand it or understand it now. It literally means wind or breath. So, the verse actually reads, the wind of God moved upon the face of the waters. This isn't describing some mystical spiritual entity. It's describing wind blowing across the primordial ocean, just like in the Kemetic creation account, where the breath of or wind of the creator God moved across the waters of Nun. This translation choice, rendering ruach as spirit instead of wind, fundamentally changed how generations of believers understood this text. It made it seem more supernatural, more abstract, when the original Hebrew was describing something the ancient writers could observe: wind moving over water. Why does this matter? Well, because ancient Hebrew scribes, many of whom were educated in Egypt, lived during the Babylonian exile or were exposed to Kemetic culture through centuries of interaction, adapted and reworked these existing creation frameworks for their own theological purposes. They weren't writing history as we understand it now. They were crafting sacred narratives using the mythological language and imagery that surrounded them. This isn't about destroying anyone's faith, This is about understanding how our sacred texts actually came to be through cultural exchange, human authorship, and the complex process of oral traditions becoming written scripture. The Bible didn't fall from heaven fully formed. It was written by real people in real historical context, influenced by the cultures around them. If you're serious about your Christian faith, you owe it to yourself to engage with this scholarship. Real faith isn't threatened by real history. Real faith can handle the truth about how these texts were composed, transmitted, and translated. 101 myths of the Bible should be required reading for anyone who wants to understand what they're actually reading when they open the scriptures. It's not about losing your faith. It's about having an informed, mature faith that doesn't require you to ignore archaeology, linguistics, and history. Check out this book. Read it with an open mind. And let's have honest conversations about biblical history. Now, I will be doing one myth from this book every Sunday until next time. Ancient knowledge is still out there, so you should seek the truth. Ashe, ashe, ashe.